So, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening to all those watching across the globe. Uh, this is the AI Data Podcast, and today I'm your host. My name is Puneet, and I take care of Labellerr. We are a data engine for AI teams, help companies reduce their data labeling time and speed up the and enable higher data accuracies for their fine tuning and building AI projects. And what I'm today excited about is we have a very special guest on our episode today, Mathangi Sri. She's Chief Data Officer at YUBI. Uh, she has had data science initiatives at Gojek, PhonePe, Citibank, to name it all. And more importantly, to understand, she has 100 plus patents on her name. Wow. And she's one of the top 50 influential AI leaders in India. So, welcome, Mathangi, uh, to the podcast.
Thanks, Puneet. Thanks for having me. It's glad meeting you, and always a pleasure to talk to you.
Welcome, Mathangi. So, Mathangi, let me just start with a question, right? Interesting question, which I personally wanted to ask. So, if you would like to briefly introduce about yourself with a Twitter pitch, how would you do that?
Twitter pitch, is it?
Yes.
So, for many people, data can be a job or a profession. For me, data is life.
That's interesting. Okay. And now, can you kind of give a two-liner brief about your journey
Yeah.
uh, overall, uh, about what you are, right? So that will help the
Yeah.
audience.
So, I should say, I've been very grateful for my journey in this space. What started out as when G came into a campus interview and we were intrigued by this place. So it's going to be 20 years experience that I have. So when they had come 20 years back, and they explained what is the power of analytics. They said one of the things that if GE were to start a windmill, analytics would decide which would be those locations. So that kind of caught my attention on the decision making power of data and how intuitive driven or domain driven decision making, very human driven decision making, can be transformed. And if I can use the word democratized by data decision making, right? So that kind of caught my attention then. That's why I remember this example vividly after 2 decades that pulled me into this field forever from that perspective. I am not a trained computer scientist. I'm not a trained statistician. I'm not a trained OR expert. I'm none of those. Right? But whatever I have learned during the job, and somehow or the other, I've been in the right places uh, to learn these technologies, and hence get an opportunity to leverage them to build greater business impacts. So one theme throughout my career has been how we can use the power of data to build better impacts. And when I mean impacts, it could be higher revenue for an organization, or it could be a better experience for a customer, or it is maybe putting a smile on someone's face. Anything is an impact, right? So that's where my journey has been. So I've kind of got the ringside view of watching this space evolve from a very static field of analysis or statistics to an extremely dynamic field at scale decisioning using computer science. It's been just a transformative journey for AI, and pleasure watching this field unfold and in some way be part of this field has been very great. So that is where that is how I would look at my professional journey in all these years.
So I think you made a point, right? You're not a trained statistician, you're not a trained computer scientist, and you're not trained
OR.
OR, right? But I think the training that you have got is something is not can't be achieved just through courses, something, right? I mean, you have actually experienced that all, right? So I think you are an amalgamation of all of these experiences. So what instead of just saying chief data officer, what if you have to devise a new name? to your maybe the role, what would you define that as?
So data for impacts, that's what it is. So maybe chief impact officer that way. I
Cool.
plan to
Cool.
see your role that way. So
Got it. So this experience of yours back in the day has been the inspiring part of your career, is where you pursued the career in into AI and data science as such. Would you like to call this as that, right?
So see, I'll tell you how I was part of the field. Right? So I started with GE Consumer Finance. Later on, it became Genpact, but I joined GE Consumer Finance, and
Okay.
our role was to build risk score models using
Risk.
statistical techniques,
Okay.
and then even then we used to do large scale transaction models. Right? So what happens is when you swipe a card, there is an over limit. So I was working for the US market, fairly advanced at that time, because for over limit personalization we were doing. Like
Oh,
when you had a card and it had over limit, let's say you have whatever $1,000 is your exposure and you're over the limit of $1,000,
right.
whether should I allow you till $100 more, or whether should I allow you to $150 or more, or whether I should allow you till $200 and more. Even now, when I think of this problem, is baffling to me because we were solving this problem 20 years back, right? And so this model had two components. One was a decision tree, which kind of says what is the segment of the user.
Okay.
Once we had the segment of the user, then we had different limits, right? So segment is in rows and different limits in columns. Then it became an OR problem, an optimization problem, how you are kind of making sure that your exposure is limited, but because if you allow over limit, these are the guys who will also spend more on your product and give you more finance charges. So how do you maximize income without compromising on risk rates? So that's the optimization problem that we did, and this went real time, like this went live real time. As the person is swiping, we would say what is the dollar amount that it is, and then the transaction system would act accordingly. So that's where I feel I'm very thankful and I'm very fortunate to somehow have figured these problems out, somehow to have landed in these areas. So this was the field, but however, largely outside of where we were, etc. This was also a very static field that time. So an
Okay.
example could be somebody wants to find out why did my sales go up and why did my sales go low. So somebody will write hypothesis. At the maximum, you will do a t-test or a z-test and then say this is statistically significant or not. My marketing campaign, did it work or not? Things like that, right? This was bulk of problems that people were handling, except for few lucky ones like me were handling such scale problems. But even I was handling a mix of these, right? This field, slowly and steadily, with explosion of more data, with consumer companies coming in, like the likes of Netflix and Google and everything, and the compute becoming cheaper, right? So then the algorithms which were there suddenly started becoming to use. These are we talk about deep neural networks even in 1970s, 1990s, etc.
Yeah.
And whether deep neural network or not, some of the machine learning concepts kind of took off at that point in time when the availability of data increased and the compute kind of cost became lower. Then it became more about how do you leverage the algorithms for these large scale problems. So the world of statistics kind of merged into computer science that way. And a lot of traditional statistical use cases, the single decision tree became ensemble decision tree and things like that became uh, front ending. A classic example of that I'll tell you. When let's say we were doing call center analytics or we were doing IVR training, right? Like
Okay.
natural language IVR, this is not natural language conversational engine, but natural language IVR. So the IVR you could say things like, it would say that and then say, I want to book a flight and things like that. And whatever you say, it's closed. It's in a way closed response, but it also lets the customer speak. Again, this is 12 years back. We were working on a project like this.
Okay.
The This field was dominated by linguists, by NLP as a field, especially the NLU part. Nobody even talked about NLG, which is natural language generation. NLU was that intent classification, sentiment analysis, dominated by linguists.
Okay.
Now, in a matter of 3 to 5 years, that division of linguists completely got overtaken by computer science. So people who had specialized in language modeling, right? Language modeling is not language models that we talk about here, but grammars, parsing, sentence structures, all of that kind of became overtaken by your, SVMs or after a period of time, deep learning neural networks, etc. So, and I'm seeing this more and more, Puneet, right?
Yeah.
Seeing this traditional statistical thing, computers and just smashes some of these and takes it over. Take computer vision, for example. If I were to take an image and extract it, I would have to use a lot of vision techniques, right? About how am I kind of figuring out the region of interest? I would have to use specific algorithms to get there. Today we talk about donut models, and there is not even a two-stage model. There is not even a computer vision model and an NLP model. Everything gets crunched into the same thing, and then to top it up, generative AI on top of it. So the with advent of an exponential increase of more and more data that is coming in, I would say brute force computer science way just takes away the finer techniques, right? That's the evolution of the field.
Okay.
Used to be jobs called statisticians. I'm sure they are there still, but they used to be very prominent in organizations. So these are the people whom you go to figure out whether you are going to use a structure equation modeling or whether you are kind of analyzing an experiment, etc. That field is not there today so much more as how it used to be. The prominence is gone, right? Because you don't need foundational statistics to build a machine learning model today. It is the state. As much as people like me who come from these traditional statistical backgrounds by way of job can cry and say whatever we want to say, the reality is if you have to build a machine learning model today, you don't need foundational statistics to operate. You can fairly start from algebra, and then even if you want to understand foundations, you can algebra, gradient descent, back propagation, and there you are. You can straight land in building machine learning models, right? So it's a shift. It's a shift from fine-tuned, high, nuanced, mathematically shaped field to mathematics is important, but what's more important is your ability to handle large data, your ability to kind of understand some of the algorithms, that is built on at certain level, but then from there you pick up and move, right? Get into the computer science area. So that is the fascinating thing for me about this field. When people used to say, oh, you built a model, let me see what is this model. Okay, what are the top variables
Yes.
that you have? What is your, why is income not directly proportional to
I
job?
remember that. I remember.
Have you bucketed it? Why is your bucket breaking? And all of that questions thrown out of the window. What buckets when you're talking about? If I have built take even a random forest, right? Forget even neural networks. Take a random forest. I have built a tree with 1,000 trees in it. What bucket? What will break? How will you even find it out? And put some line sharp examples on top of it. But uh, it just smashed people who were talking about explainability and all to another level of bafflement, right? The field just opened up. So yeah, that's what technology can do, right? What people were cutely working on, the wave comes and then just hits you on the smashes you on the face and goes. That's that's possibly describing the growth of technology.
Yeah, I mean, I remember since you talked about this, how it has moved from linguistics to just everything in Gen AI and just put in the data and then these algorithms do all that stuff. Uh, it's I remember doing the CS224D. It's a Stanford course, deep learning and natural language processing, and how far. I mean, that was a more like an introduction back in I think around 2014 or something. And today it's like we were at that time we were talking about breaking that thing that okay, it's not just basic modeling, you can put deep learning in there.
Yeah.
And then we are even now talking about getting away. That NLP deep learning now is also being called as the word to vec is now anymore is not SOTA. It's just gone.
But Word2Vec gave rise to a lot of things.
Yes, exactly.
That is where the embedding concepts come in.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean,
Uh,
again, I mean, in general, if you look at it, it's all transition, right? I mean, the concepts, and even I wonder this question at times. Even my team members talk to me and ask, where should I start? And at sometimes I feel how would I mean they would have to go through all of those steps, what we have gone through, and even a lot of steps that even I haven't gone through. And I mean, you have been there from even more than even more a decade, even before that, right? All those experiences that you gain. So at one time, I mean, and then there are some new uh, freshers coming to me and saying that, okay, we know LangChain, we know this, and we have built this model. And I say, okay, but then do do I need to tell them that okay, you need to actually go back to the basics and fundamentals and say that okay, how this used to work and then how it changed from CNNs to RNNs to LSTMs, and then someone said, oh, GANs are there, but then there was someone who said, okay, can we build a transformer thing out of what challenges what RNN had, right? So I mean, so how do you? I mean, what is your opinion and advice to someone uh, trying to get into this, right? I mean, even I'm trying to wonder this
Correct.
question.
Correct. So I don't think we can do away with foundations. Fundamentals have to be there. To take a text problem, you got to understand tokens. You've got to understand, how a basic bag of words model will work, and why bag of models works even today. Our voice engine that we have deployed in the market has an ML based, model with bag of words approach. So I don't think you can just replace bag of words. It has its value as well, right? Number of rows are limited. It's a well bounded problem. Why would you not try and use some of those, or at least baseline with those, right? Bag of words to embeddings to sequence models to transformers, then attention, and then your generative, then your large language models, and then the variations of large language models would still be a course,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think, because if you don't understand a bag of words, it's going to not even see the basic intuition of text mining is this, that you are converting unstructured data into structured data. You are converting words to numbers, right? That crux has to be there. Now you can convert words to numbers using a TF-IDF matrix, or you can convert word to vec using a embedding kind of approach, right? Or you already somebody has converted and you can use that for your transfer learning. The crux of it is how you are converting words to numbers, and there are multiple methods to convert. So I think that crux of it will have to be there. And in the world of, let's say, structured data, same thing. So you have to know some level of statistics, some level of understanding. At least you should be able to fit a y equal to x plus b in paper, and you should understand the formula of a and b in that, right? That's
Yes.
basic linear algebra. You got to know that, right?
Yeah.
Then you do your stochastic gradient descent, etc. You kind of do your gradient descent and then stochastic gradient descent. This will give you some level of and some intuition into how ML models work, right? Then you can from there branch out to a tree, how entropy works, and then get into gradient boosting, where what is gradient in gradient boosting, and then from there take it forward, because you will be doing this will help you appreciate how data behaves when you're predicting it through linear models, and how data behaves when you predict it through nonlinear models, right? What is that multiple layers in deep neural networks do, right? How does it break your linearity in y equal to x plus b, right? So those, and why is that needed, right? When we do certain problems, you kind of understand why is that needed, right? So
Nuances.
for all of that, the foundations are very important. So if I might sound very traditional. Now I have to say all these hashtag words and disclaimers and everything in the world we live in, because people immediately look down on you if you don't say, I use generative AI to brush my teeth, right? So, uh,
That's the funniest thing that I've heard today.
so, so it is important to get the fundamentals right, because the fundamentals will help you appreciate complexity more than anything else. Helps you appreciate it.
That makes sense. So, in a way, the entry barrier, though it looks like it has decreased for someone new trying to get into this, but actually for them, they still have to traverse all those
Even if they don't travel that on day
basics.
one,
Yes.
even if they don't travel on day one, but they got to travel. Another point is, I don't know how many interview panels are not asking questions on entropy, gradient descent, your reference score, precision recall, etc. So I think, I'm sure most of the organizations are very thorough and they ask these questions
Yeah.
for people to come in. You can say, I know rags and I know pine cone, and DBX yesterday it got released and I tried it and I know the difference between DBX and Llama 3, and this has 13 billion, that has so many billion parameters, etc. But point is, I hope I'm sure sanity is prevailing in a lot of companies, and their interviews are far more foundational and fundamental. So there are not people who get carried by hype, people who know, to crack, take hugging face, get to, few notebooks, run those few notebooks, and then I know I can talk. And then read the last four Medium per post. Then I'm talking. So I am assuming that interviewers are also kind of encouraging foundations and fundamentals, because that solves a business problem more than anything else.
True. No, no, that's something as an advice. Thank you for sharing this advice for the other organizations as well and for us as well. Um, so, quickly jumping onto another question, right? So, what are your personal and professional aspirations for the next 3 to 5 years? I don't know whether this question is probably valid or not, but then, I mean, I'm sure at every stage in life,
Sure.
even after achieving so much, what is next for you in your personal?
So one thing, I'm very grateful for whatever it is today, right? I do think in a lot of ways I don't deserve many of these things. That is, and I've been in the right place, and that's the first thing. And I that's how I think, and that's how I operate. Then, of course, so in terms of personal aspiration, I do want to be a better person, a better version of myself, and meaning, God willing, I want to use my services for larger social good. And I started this saying data is life. So without data, that larger good doesn't come. So that's my means to an end. But I'm getting into a space where the impact that I create has to be for, larger good, possibly more social good also. And if my profession can help me get there, that's the place I want to operate in.
Thank you. Um, and so, how do you foster motivation and collaboration within your team?
See, everybody is motivated, right? As a leader, all you have to do is to stop demotivating them. Then you let people be there, and they'll figure out ways to solve a problem. To your energy, you can contribute somewhere if things are down, if the chips are down, etc. But largely, and large part of whichever teams I've been part of, I feel people are there for a purpose, and whether some people realize purpose, and some people act on a job without knowing they are behind a purpose. But everybody largely are there for a purpose. And if you have a purpose and you love your profession, then you will be motivated, right? And your job as a leader is to make sure that they get those problems day in and day out, and you are unblocking things for them. You are kind of operating at a level which enables them to operate on their own, and you are there to kind of clear the way that comes in their way, because externally you cannot motivate anyone. Motivation is within. So just because we give an award or just because there is even a salary rise does not motivate anyone. They are not. You get the best people in the team, and then you let them do what they are great at, and you kind of unblock the way for them. You get the best team.
And so most important, it's first the first step is to get the best people in the team.
Yes.
Is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So, what are the three attributes? Maybe I don't know whether it's easy to generalize, but three attributes that you look for in a team member, or the
Uh,
best team member, best team member.
the curiosity to learn, the ability to be not afraid of failure, and the attitude to contribute.
More of an opinion I would seek is there are folks who are saying GPUs are the biggest bottleneck,
Hmm.
but then there are folks who are saying refined data is essential for AI.
Hmm.
Uh, so according to you, which one of these two is the biggest bottleneck? Even if you have to kind of weigh in between these two.
Talent creates technology. Okay, it's not the other way around. So the biggest enabler and the biggest bottleneck is talent, right? So you can make GPUs cheaper with great talent as well. And if it's a great talent, they will know how to work without those expensive GPUs also. So if you are at a very high level, the enabler and the bottleneck can be only people. It cannot be anything else. People create world, right? So at the next level, business problems are extremely important, whether to know whether you need those GPUs or not. So I think we can do enough with the existing GPUs, possibly in a lot of cases, where it really demands. Let's say you're solving a large scale vision problem, voice problem, etc., where it demands. I know GPU is on the run, but I'm sure, like I said, right, talent finds its own way. The next wave of innovation, like how it was in software, it will be in hardware. It will smash the prices down of GPUs. Pretty much, right? This has been a catch game, right? Where when the compute was very high, compute came down. It crashed to a level. Then algorithms came up. Then there's a lot of innovation on algorithms. Now the innovation will go back on compute, and it will go parallel also, right? Now we have quantized models. We have models which can run in CPUs. So there is going to be work done on that also. If I instead of fine tuning, you can do few short learning. So there will be both sides happening. Let's say a few years from now, we are not talking about a GPU bottlenecked world or something like that. The expansive part of it is going to come from problems being available for AI to solve.
And what
And
about refined data? How big is this bottleneck?
everybody said that will scrape the internet left, right, center, and that's how language models built. Just think about it. Who would have thought a language model would be built by a company which is not like Google or Facebook or any of this? The first language model came from OpenAI, from open data, right? So who would have thought that we would have thought everybody followed up? That's a different point, right? But when people used to talk about Google or this was the story, right? Because I heard this from the investor of Google. People said, why do you need another search engine? Alta Vista was already there. Why do you need Google? And the way Google became what it was, it had all its data, right? And hence you would naturally think an AI algorithm would need that level of data. And these guys who had the monopoly on data would create that. Somebody broke that itself, right? Where they had no right to data, so to say, but then they were able to build a model completely built out of the world's data. So I don't think refined data or something is a problem that is in your head. They can always find out a way. And that's what I'm saying. Neither refined data nor hardware is a problem. If it is a problem, it will get solved by humans.
There's a talent.
Talent matters. Nothing else matters.
And in terms of where do you see the future of AI adoption and development heading? Right. I mean, from a considering industry and geographical trends, see, there is China is catching up. There is, I mean, US already, and then India is also catching up. Uh, and recently, Middle East announced a huge initiatives. So, how in your understanding, how is the dynamics going to play? Because the fundamental understanding or the saying is, whosoever becomes the leads the AI is gonna be the next superpower. So it's an important question politically and geographically. I mean, on a global
Certainly,
platform.
India will play a huge role. And this some of the initiatives that is for non-profit like AI for Bharat, etc., just mind blowing. There's also a lot of funds riding on these initiatives from the government, and we have been at the forefront of this innovation. I was part of the GPAI summit that happened where the Prime Minister had come and his vision for AI. These are times to live in, right?
Yeah.
Where barely I come from the time where data science got spoken only by few, right? So AI being a political agenda, a national agenda, in both political and national agenda in the country, it's a lot to see, right? I think India is going to definitely, again, from the same fact of stemming, talent built technology. India is rich in talent. India's talent can get onto AI faster. And though large part of internet is in English, the large part of world population is non-English, right? So we need, and that sits with India, right? So you have to build AI for India, and then you are building AI at scale. It's very simple, right? So I think this is going to be a huge area for India to play. I would say India will transform AI.
So okay, so one question, I've written it down and I'll speak
Sure.
it out. So Gary Marcus said, right, things are about to get a lot worse for generative AI. He has his blog, garymarcus.substack.com, and that's where he elaborated. But let me just simplify it. What he
Sure.
went on to saying, when will the Gen AI bubble burst? I mean, he's a critique, is a very popular critique about Gen AI, and he says why and how it could happen in the next 12 months. Uh, I don't know whether you got a chance to kind of read what he said, but then what is your opinion? I mean, critiques of Gen AI are saying that it's a bubble burst that is going to happen in the next 12 months. But then, even myself, talking to organizations and they are using this Gen AI in a phenomenal way as well. So, why these critiques are saying so that the bubble is going to burst?
One, Nvidia booked its profits and made its money, whether bubble or not, right? So that is the first thing that has come out of it. And OpenAI became the marketing arm for Nvidia. So these are things that unfolds. I don't think it is like the crypto bubble or anything like that. It is here to stay, right? There might be a bigger bubble might become smaller bubble and here to stay, etc. But to say this will go away and it will burst and everything, no, it's here to stay. It is here to stay because of few things. Right? It's here to stay because it's not some random magic that is happening. It's built through science, built through transformers, which has been proven very well. It's just amazing to see the technology in action. It will find its right usage like any other technology will find its right usage, right? So uh, media blows up everything quite large proportion and then things settle down, right? You need marketing, and media did that marketing for generative AI, and it is here to stay, and it opened a lot of people's eyes and ears to AI, not only generative AI. One of the things I've been saying in a lot of forums is this, that earlier, we used to wonder whether AI will get a seat at the table. Today, it is the board asking its founders, saying, "What have you done with generative AI?" Right?
Yes.
So it is table turn, and that will stay. That table is not going. That is not going away. Right? It will find its better use cases. It will get more refined. Maybe people who are burning GPU unnecessarily, they'll get more fine tuned. But it will not be like, we this burst is over and then let's move on. It's not going to happen that.
It's not.
It's
It's
go back.
gonna.
Yeah, it will never go to pre-generative AI or anything. See, it has really opened up a lot of possibilities. What people thought was science fiction is the reality we live in, right? And the other interesting thing about AI is this, right? So it is ubiquitous actually. It is there in our life in ways that we don't even know it is there. Maybe it is scary if I'll say it that way, but it is real, scary or not. Example, whether what food you order, you don't determine. You are thinking, you are determining it. Right? When you go to the app, whatever comes there, you order, and that's a recommendation engine that's running behind. Right? Okay, so that's on the food thing. What clothes you wear, what is your fashion today, is absolutely not determined by you. It's determined by what you read and where you shop from. Right? Let's take to the deeper level. What kind of a person you are? What is your spiritual interest? What are your views on, some of the core values that you are made of? You may think you are determining it, or your friends are determining it, your family is determining it, your community is determining it. Sorry to say, it's the internet that is determining it. The recommendation algorithms are determining it. What you watch, your movies, your YouTube videos are determined by the algorithms that is going behind, right? So this is done. This AI part, it's no more burst, bubble, and all of that, right? It is done. It is in our life. It is letting us think in a certain way. It is letting us answer in a certain way. It is building your personality or taking away some part of your personality. It is shaping your thinking. It is shaping because your thinking is shaped, your value system gets shaped. It's far more, possibly we are
Yes.
hybrid humans now, right? We are AI in ourselves. AI plus humans we are all. We are influenced by, really, right?
No, definitely, it's too deep. It's
Yeah,
too deep. Yes.
and we are living our life, right? So our thoughts, values, leadership styles, how you talk to people around you, how you react in a certain day are also influenced by AI.
So, okay, so then we used to say that it's the mind which drives our actions, but now it's
AI
also the algorithms which
drives the mind, right? That's where I'm saying we are all hybrid humans.
yeah. We are not anymore the same humans.
Yeah, we are not.
Okay, so what advice would you give to executives or other CXOs looking to implement AI strategies? Maybe short answers.
Sure, don't look at it like a AI strategy or something like that. That is the first thing. Look at it like a strategy and figure out how data can make a difference in that. Then it becomes a data driven strategy and the strategy will come out well. So that would be my thing. And all executives come with a lot of experience and exposure. They're all well rooted. So being rooted in the fundamentals is very important. Being truthful to the strategy and to the organization is important. Being truthful to your people is important. AI becomes a means to an end if you have to use it.
And so, last question: what are the three common mistakes AI teams make when crafting? You call it data strategy, AI strategy, and how can they avoid it? Them.
One is, see, again, the principles don't change. Problem has to guide your solution. Solution cannot pick a problem, right? So figure out what is the problem and let the problem be the guide. Let the data be the one that provides you the right way to solve the problem. Second is, uh, for a leaders, I'm saying, it is essential to note this, that process, codes, problems, programs, all of that you can write and you can always rewrite, and these will always change. But what you are building for any organization is people. So it's extremely important to stay true to the people that you are responsible for. So that is the second thing. You can get carried away, you can do this, you can do that, etc. But don't miss out why you are there in the first place, which is for the people.
Okay, so just a bonus question for the audience: three forums or two forums where Matangi loves to spend her time. if possible, we know Mathangi's time is like uh, gone through all of these meetings every day, probably. But then, if possible, if you get a chance, what two or three forums that you like to read around AI specifically?
See, definitely, Analytics Vidya is one thing that I generally go through. The Analytics India magazine articles that come in, I do go through that. Some of the other things like Ken, which talks about startup ecosystem, and Medium posts for absolutely specific problems to solve. Some of the Medium posts are just amazing, right? We were just discussing about fine tuning, etc. yesterday with my team,
Okay.
and there's a post about Jay Almer has written
Yes.
about run. That's very critical, and that's a Medium post, right? So Medium post gives you some of the foundational nuggets that you need to get on to a field very fast. So hence that also.
And thank you, Mathangi. I'm sure all of you must have enjoyed the conversation. Uh, so look forward to all of your comments. And yep, till then, stay safe and stay happy.